Hi everybody, I hope you're doing marvellously well. We're here on a beautiful, beautiful early February day in sunny California at a little rock and roll paradise. Jim Kaufman Productions Studio, Jim Kaufman, the studio owner and the producer. And I've got to say, I'm very excited because he has a wonderful collection of beautiful equipment, guitars, amps, you name it. So without further ado, let's get going.
Hey Warren, how you doing, man?
Marvelous, Jim, good to see you.
Come on in, welcome.
I'm very excited. I was just saying on camera that I know you have some incredible gear.
Yeah, I'm a gear guy. I love it.
Good.
Yeah. Welcome. So this is my studio, which is in my guest house on the west side of Los Angeles, based around this Burl mothership is my I/O. I love the Burl stuff. I've had this Neve, this Melbourne, for probably about 12 years now.
Great.
My theory on recording is to kind of dedicate a channel. I make rock records. So I have 24 channels here, and I have a dedicated channel for every instrument kind of on its way in. You know, my bass has their channels, the drums are taken care of. And once I get through basics, I can break it out and make different worlds.
Wonderful.
But, 24 channels is all I really need.
Presume you modded that to have direct outs.
I just did, actually. I've had it for about, I guess 12 years.
Yep.
I just modded it about a month ago.
Great.
So you can get that wonderful Neve harmonic sound, which is awesome. I used to sum through it as well, but now I use the Burl summing mixer, which is underneath all of those patch cables. I just find having less recalls makes my life so much easier.
Got so much great gear.
Yeah, thanks, man. The studio was designed by Hush at Sense and Sound, and I've had it for I've been here for about a year and a half. I was in Santa Monica before that, but I don't touch my mix chain. So I mix through out of my summing mixer into the Fern, into the Pultex, into the SSL, and I basically don't ever touch those knobs, just because I do a lot of recalls, and I don't. My assistant will log in at night and do printing and stuff. So that's just kind of the color of my mix chain. And most of the mixing I do, other than that, is in the box, other than breaking it out to my summing. So the stuff that you see here is all for tracking. I have a beautiful vintage pair of 1089s. That I've had for a long time. They're great. Some API color up there and some Demeters. I don't know if you guys know these, but Jim Demeter supposedly designed that preamp for Scott Weiland on the Purple record, which Stone Temple Pilots is one of my favorite bands. Such a great record and great vocal tone. And there's something that happens in the mids in that is just beautiful. Got the distressors, kind of the Swiss Army knife.
Absolutely.
The 1178s. I do this mostly on my drum rooms. This is a vintage 175B, which is my favorite vocal compressor of all time.
Oh, wow.
Got a nice vintage LA2A and a 1176 Rev D. Are
you going LA2A into this?
I actually go 175 into the LA2A.
Oh, okay.
That's kind of my vocal chain. And then sometimes I throw the Stretch on. I don't know if you're familiar with Standard Audio, but...
Wonderful, yeah.
Great company, and I'll throw that on mostly BGVs, but sometimes on a vocal, on the lead vocal, depending on what I'm looking for. And then, of course, some API EQs, and then some retro double wides. Those guys are a great company, and then the vintage gates.
I've never seen that one in this good of a condition in my life.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I got it off Vintage King. The SA39B, it's awesome. I mean, I use it as a mono drum slam. It's great on piano. Great on bass, and it's an awesome piece. So I just kind of keep the stuff that I like. If something makes its way in this room and I don't put it on a record, I sell it, and that's kind of just been my philosophy on collecting. I do have also a Percasti reverb, which is beautiful because we have such a tight space in here. Yeah. Having some reverb choices has been very helpful. Over here, I have my synthesizers, my Moog D. Which I have had forever. This is my Prophet 5, my Juno, my Nord lead, and of course the DX7.
DX7.
Yeah, the DX7.
Well, how do you use your DX7? Because back in the day when I was a kid, we used to love putting Boss pedals on them.
Oh yeah. I do all kinds of stuff. So the way that we designed the studio, I can kind of get in and out of everything very simply. I have all the wires put in the walls. I used jumpers, which is wonderful cabling. So every patch point can get to everywhere, and I don't have to see wires. Like Obviously, the patch bay is its own thing, but I don't want to feel like I'm going to get like my feet caught in wires. I need a clean environment for me to be able to get into my flow state.
Sure.
So all the cabling's in the walls, and I can kind of get in and out very fast. Sound design station, this all pulls out, so I can send every synth through every pedal,
Great.
a drum kit through whatever. And here is my live room, which I have 24 channels on this panel here, and this is a kind of a tighter. Also, Hush designed this room as well. Tighter, very punchy sound. I have channel 19 through 24 copied over to here, so I don't have to run my guitar cables across the floor. And I got my wall of amps. This is a beautiful Gibson 79 1962, which I don't know if you're familiar with that amp, but got a beautiful reverb tank in it and a great trem and just an awesome amp. And then, of course, the AC30. This is actually a Marshall cabinet, but VHT logo from back in my artist days. This deluxe reverb, 1962. This is probably the amp that I use the most.
Wonderful.
It's very diverse. I love this amp. That Champ is also great. This PV Decade gets a lot of use. My drum kit is a company called Masters of Maple. My buddy Cy Hare started this company when he was 14. This is a Japanese Bobinga and Brazilian rosewood kit. And it took him 18 months to bend that kick drum. That's how hard that wood is. He's a great guy, wonderful company, very, very hands-on with his artists. And he comes here and tunes the kit for me. He's the kind of guy you call him and he's like, on a helicopter in the Amazon, like sourcing a tree, A handful of different cymbals. I love Pisces in the studio with a band called Return to Dust that I work with. And some of these are London Hudson's cymbals. So not all mine. And then I, of course, the studio bathroom with the shower mic, which
good.
Yeah, that's a KM85, and that really makes this room sound huge.
Well, talking of mics, you've got one of our favorite things to do, which is using an SM7 on hi-hat.
That's my only hi-hat mic I'll ever use. It's my go-to.
It's like in the 80s that every hi-hat was like, but actually a hi-hat sounds better if it's.
Oh, totally. I love ribbon rooms, so I put up usually a pair of 44s in the rooms that I have down just so for our walking purposes. Of course, the Coles overheads. And on the other side of this wall is my living room, which I have another 24 channels in. So, this room's very tight, but if you want that blood sugar sex magic sound, the wife and the kids go to the beach for the day and we go in there and move the drum kit, which has been actually really great. It's a great sounding room.
So what have we got going on here on the top? Is that a KM84 with a...
This is a AKG 451,
451
and this is a SE Electronics 77. And then, the E22S, this is my favorite tom mic of all time, Josephson.
Yeah.
You could mic a pizza box and it'd be like, doof. It's also great on like plucky banjo stuff, and I've got some great use out of it on horn sections, electric guitar amp, wonderful, wonderful mic. And then I do, this is an SM5 on the kick-in, and of course the FET and the NS10 cone. I also mic the bottom of toms now, 421, and I use a Y cable with the phase flip.
Okay, so you have these both going in together.
Yep, and I go into my Neve, and then sometimes I use like a sonic maximizer depending on what I need, but not all the time. I'm a big fan of the Mad Dog on the bottom snare, the 441, the Rod Stewart mic. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite snare bottom of all time.
It's got a wonderful pronounced mid-range, so it's perfect for that, isn't it?
Oh, it's great. And I've tried every snare mic combination ever, and this is my go-to. I don't think I'd ever put anything else underneath a snare.
You may have already told me that FET 47 there. What's that?
That's just a vintage FET 47.
Oh,
I have no idea why it's that color.
Oh, wow.
I was surprised. I got it and I was like, did somebody paint this thing? And apparently for 6 months or something, they made them that color. And
incredible.
Yeah, it sounds lovely. I know some people that use the FET as a vocal mic. And I've never been able to successfully get that going. I have a Telefunken 251 that I go to, for my vocals a lot. I have a U47, 67.
All the mics you want.
Yeah, I've got the good vocal mic package. I keep them up there in the boxes. And
this is an original?
Yeah.
I've never seen anything in such good condition.
Yeah, it's in great shape. The power supply is not original. They found a original power supply box, but it's a newer power supply. Okay. But this is a vintage mic. Yeah, I've had it for
incredible
2 years, and I use it every single day. It's I mean, it's a vintage 251. You know, great on vocals, lovely on percussion, acoustic guitars. I mean, you guys know it's an amazing piece to have.
Incredible.
I got it off Norm at Audio Anonymous. I don't know if you know Norm Block.
I don't, but I should.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's incredible.
This is, I think this is actually a Rhodes. I find that the Neumanns, the 85s or whatever, they can't get, sometimes these guys crash on this stuff and make big, heavy rock records. They can't take that velocity. And this is another SE Electronics. And this is, it's called this the hog mic, for lack of a better term. And
I've heard him called all kinds of things. Crotch mic. What's the German one?
Wurst?
The Wurst mic. Yeah. Sausage.
Yeah. I get a lot of use out of that. And then also this behind mic. So those are kind of my two color mics. I slam them. I compress. I distort them. I get them. Super raunchy. I like to color stuff on the way in. Yeah. I'm like a committing to the compression and EQ kind of guy.
I relate to that.
I kind of just go for what I'm hearing and get it in right. And then it makes my mixing easier. And in this room, like with Hush's design, I know I can trust that what I'm getting in is what's actually going in. And then making, the mix choices and everything is so much faster and so much easier.
So speaker-wise, talking mixing, as well as tracking as well, obviously, the PMCs.
Yeah, PMC 6.2s. I was an NS10 guy for 20-something years with a Genelec sub. And I tried every other speaker, ATCs and Barefoots and all that stuff, and I found these things, and I just took my NS10s away, and I love them. I would never go to another speaker.
Amazing. Presumably Maurice.
Yeah, Maurice. Yeah.
We think he's cloned because he seems to be everywhere at all times.
I
have no idea
that guy.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Yeah.
I mean, this is a great company, and stereo imaging, and the also just my fatigue. Like, in the NS10s, even at a relatively quiet volume, I had to take more breaks, and I had shorter days. My ears just couldn't take it. These things I can work. I mean, I get up around 5 o'clock in the morning and I mix for a few hours. That's when I do my most critical work. And then I go to the gym, I play with the kids, and then I track from, 10 or 11 till 10 or 11. So I'm getting, 16 hours or something in here a day. And I don't find them to be fatiguing at all. So it's really great. I don't have a sub. They don't need a sub.
Amazing.
It's just awesome.
You've still got some extra pedals hiding in here.
Yes, there's pedals all over the place. I love pedals. I love to get creative with sound design. I have a bunch of pedals on a pedal board that is behind the couch, and then I have huge Pelican cases of other pedals in my garage. So
amazing.
Yeah.
We haven't got to my favorite part of my favorite part. There's obviously the gear, but you do have a really wonderful collection of guitars. What is this?
That is a Gibson Model O, 1907.
Can I grab it?
Yeah, please. So yeah, those things are great. The neck on that thing's like a baseball bat.
Oh, it's a big V-neck. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Super fun.
It's probably great for just kind of nosing into something, like getting like a little ting ting mid-range kind of stuff.
Exactly. I mean, it sounds its age, and that's what I like about
it.
And then I've got
this
is a 58 Martin, 1960 Strat, 1960 Jazz, 1958 Telly.
Oh, I got to see that Telly.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, that's special.
Yeah, beautiful.
Try not to bang it. Look at that. Oh, that's gorgeous. Do you know anything about the pedigree of this?
Well, it's been refretted, and I got it I got it from Grun's in Nashville.
Yeah.
And obviously new tuning pegs, but other than that, it's original.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's been refretted, so maybe it's not worth as much, but having
actually play it.
Exactly. Having wider frets is easier.
There's a fine line between the collectible stuff and the stuff that you can actually use, and I'm all about the stuff that I can use. I use these guitars every day, and they make my records, and I love them. So
gorgeous.
Yeah,
It's a
man.
work of art.
And then I got the Ed O'Brien Strat, which is
Oh, wow.
it's got the sustainer in it. So
Lovely.
yeah, like the Fernandez in the 80s. And then this
Yeah,
is
those are great.
a 1970
345?
345.
Oh, yeah.
This is a 1959 all original P, which is the best bass in the world. I love that bass. That's probably my favorite bass guitar I've ever played.
Drop D, of course.
Yeah, I've been in like rock mode, so that's probably honestly a half step down, and so it's drop C sharp or something. But
It's beautiful.
isn't that a great neck? Feeling on that is just amazing.
Plays so beautifully, so easy to play. Wow.
Yeah, man, it's just a piece.
I love that warm matte neck.
that thing.
And it just feels cool all the time, but not cold. Like, oh yeah, that's beautiful. Take it away before I.
And then I've got a 74 Jazz, a
Yeah.
65. I'm sorry, a 74P, a 65 Jazz. This is a baritone that Gibson says it doesn't exist. So
Ever seen that before in my life?
there was only two. John Travis sold me this thing. So the story goes that
John's a lovely fella.
I love John.
Yeah.
Story goes, Buckethead went to Gibson, and Buckethead's like 6'5" without the chicken thing on his
Yowza.
head. And he said, "I want a guitar that makes me look like Randy Rhoads." And so they made him two of these. And the story is he smashed the other one.
Oh wow.
And so this thing doesn't have a serial number. It doesn't have a serial number. None. And I mean, it's lovely. Big country gentleman stuff. Of course, the heavy stuff, the metal stuff. It's a great berry.
And if you're 6'5", it looks like a regular guitar.
54 Junior.
I love
this
those.
is my dad bought this 1954 Gold Top when he was 14 years old for $100 in 1956.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is my dad's guitar.
Your dad was a musician.
Yeah, my dad is a musician, still around.
Okay, good.
And yeah, this was his guitar. He got it when he was 14.
Oh wow.
And now it's mine and makes all my records.
And deservedly so.
58 Special,
Oh.
and then 1954 Martin. So
Wow.
those are.
What an incredible collection of guitars and basses. I don't know if I've seen a better collection
It's
outside of a.
I
music store.
love guitars. I love guitars almost as much as I love the recording gear. I have to say that I tend to.
You're a man of taste. I'll tell you that. Very much so. Oh, what's this audio merge up here?
So this is a filter. So this is like the King Tubby. And so basically, you use it with the Space Echo to get really dubby and weird. I'm a huge trip hop guy, like Portishead, Massive Attack.
Good job.
That's my stuff. So I use it a lot for that kind of stuff. But you can use it to filter anything, obviously. And it's just a great piece. The Space Echo is lovely.
Yeah, I'm so glad you got a DW Fern. He's like one of the sweetest guys ever.
Oh man, that thing is so cool. It has this, like, it puts you inside of it. Like there's a space around it, The imaging it's unbelievable.
I just remember the first time I heard it, I thought it was fantastic. And then it was a couple of years later, we went to like an AES and I met him. He was just at the booth and he's standing there. And I was just like, you're the guy I want to make this gear. Yeah. I'm glad that this piece of equipment that I love is actually made by somebody who really cares.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a work of art. Congrats.
Yeah.
Wow. Look, an amazing collection of stuff.
Yep. It's, how it is. It's just one piece at a time.
Yeah.
Since I was 16 or whatever.
The Rupert Neve up there. There's a Rupert Neve bobblehead.
I have a collection of these amps. My buddy Drew Foppy,
I don't know these.
So Drew's was my guitar tech when I was an artist, and came on the road with me. I think I took him on his first tour, and then he's toured with Deftones and Tool and Fleetwood Mac and he's out with Shinedown now. So this is his Los Dos, and so there's 40 of these. This is, I think, the Rev 1. He made a Rev 2. There's 40 of those as well. And then back there, I have his 3 other amps. So there's a Tweed, and that's got like, it sounds kind of like a Harvard, deluxe kind of vibe. And then he makes like one that's kind of like an Orange, and then one that's kind of like a Marshall. And so each one of those, there's only 15 of. Wow. And Drew, story goes, like when he first made the first amps, he was out with Fleetwood Mac, and they would fly in like once a week to play the show, and their techs were like at the hotel waiting for the band to fly in. And he just started making these amps, just soldering point to point, in his hotel rooms. This is my favorite heavy guitar amp of all time.
It's called a Los Dos.
Los Dos. It's a 2-watt.
2-watt head.
Yeah. That thing gets heavy, man. And it's not loud, which is nice because,
What do you put it through? You put it through the Marshall?
I put it through the Marshall, yeah. He also makes a cabinet, which is really great, but I have an affinity for that Marshall that says VHT on it. There's greenbacks in there, and I've had that thing since I was 20. So I love that cabinet. But
I do love the orange GMP though.
Yeah, that thing's great. In 1970, Jim signed it on the inside.
Oh, beautiful.
And I've had that thing forever as well. That's my go-to collection. I do have a lot of other stuff that's in the garage that I bring in, but as I said, like if I have something that I don't use, I just get rid of it. I don't like to keep gear that isn't inspiring for me.
We should probably do that at some stage, Eric. And of course, the obligatory Marshall fridge.
It goes to 11. Yeah.
So, Jim, what a wonderful studio.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about your journey? You said, are you from Arizona originally?
Yeah, I'm from Phoenix. I grew up in a very competitive music scene, playing in bands with a very tight-knit group of friends that are all still very competitive in a healthy way. And I moved to Los Angeles 22 years ago to work with Charlie Clouser. Charlie from Nine Inch Nails was producing my band at the time. And then I hung around his studio. I was the engineer, or the assistant, on Helmet Size Matters. So Charlie was producing Helmet, and I came in and helped to make that record. And at the same time, Charlie was scoring Saw, the first Saw. So he was, doing Saw. I was helping with the record, and that's where I met Paige, obviously. And then my band at the time we got signed, and I was touring. So it was a bit of being in LA, making records when I could, being on the road mostly. And then I found that I wanted to be on the record in the studio more and on the road less. My band lost a record deal, and we came home to make a new record, which took a couple years. And we did it once with Ulrich Wild, and then another time with
Ulrich.
Yeah, Ulrich's great. Another time with John Travis.
Yeah, Travis John's great as well.
Both legendary guys. I learned so much from them and Charlie. And then we went out and toured that record, and I was just like, no, this isn't it. Because while I was at home making that record, I was producing other bands, and it really just started where I was the guy in the band that was going to make the demos because no one else wanted to. So I found recording very early. I love being in the studio. I get 14 or 15 hours a day of making music, and on the road, if you're lucky, you get an hour or two. Because you're doing press and you're in the bus and you're getting to the venue and you're doing all that stuff. And I also like to work with a bunch of different kinds of music. I like, as I just said, I love trip hop, and I love rock, and I love metal, and I love Americana and country. And when you're in a band, you kind of have to do that one thing. That's how I got here.
That's amazing. Yeah, being in bands has become so pigeonholed, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it maybe more now than when we were kids. It feels like bands really need to stick to that identity.
Yeah.
Although the audience seems less genreified. Like when I was a kid, it was like I was a rock guy, and then there was the hip hop kids, and there was the whatever. And kids kind of listen to a bunch of stuff, but I think just because there's an onslaught of bands in your face, the marketing apparatus behind the bands has to be really clear. And I think that they have to stick to that brand more than the bands did when we were younger.
It's tough, isn't it? Because I feel like a lot of bands. We're going on a tangent here. Sorry, everybody. That's my fault. But I feel like, I look at like the Chili Peppers, and people complain that they stay in their lane too much. But then think of the Stones, and everybody says, why aren't they, when they were making records trying to bringing disco, bringing this, bringing that, they got criticized for not staying in their lane. It feels like to be in a rock band these days, you're sort of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being in a rock band is just hard in general. It's hard to do. Although I do see that the trend is coming back. Like, kids like rock.
Sure.
Being a record producer, and I've been around for a few decades, in the business, you see the trends, and it's nice that you see these 19-year-old, 20-year-old kids coming in with Fenders and Gibsons and, writing these songs, and not like, it's not like it was 5 years ago. And I think that it's refreshing to the audience to see young musicians playing real instruments. And I love that.
Yeah, my gut is the more AI we go, the better. Because what's going to happen is there's going to be like, well, that is so obviously not human. Now I want to hear things that are so obviously human.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think rock is a great place for that, because it's inevitably flawed, in all the good ways.
So what are you finding, because I'm out of touch with this, like super modern rock, where are you finding is it going? Is there a bit more latitude in performance now? Not quite so. Modern rock, I think, for at least up until a few years ago, was about 10 or 15 years of very obviously gridded drums, the same samples, everybody used, Kick 2 from Trigger, and
right.
It was like almost you just listen to the radio, maybe all that changed is the voice.
Yeah, and that's, look, that's definitely a thing. There's a lot of guys that make records like that, but I do think that the trend is more raw and more real. I don't beat deck my records. I will edit if there's a snare that's a little early, I'll nudge it back. But I try to keep my records very emotional. I also try to, work with the musicians to pull great performances out of them.
Great.
And I think that the younger generation of listeners, the audience, it resonates to that, because it's something that's so alien to them after being raised with just totally gridded, totally computerized music. They're like, wait a minute, that feels real. And I think that, this younger generation they don't get any of that. It's going to a concert and it's like guys pressing play. That doesn't hit them like going and seeing these young bands pour their hearts out on stage. And just in the last 12 months, honestly, I've seen things happen that I thought would never happen again,
Great.
And so I'm really excited about it.
And are labels taking notice?
Absolutely. Yeah. There's rock bands getting signed to major labels. We're a few months or maybe a few years away from it, getting back into the masses, but it's heading that direction.
I would love to hear that. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I couldn't be happier.
So what are you working on at the moment?
I've been working with this band Return to Dust for 5 or 6 years, a band I developed. Just recently signed with Lava Republic, and we put out their first record in May of last year, and they toured on it, and they're home now. We did the record deal. We're right now trying to finish the first major label debut, which I'm supposed to turn in by February 10th. So I've got like 10 days to kind of
a little less, my friend. 8 days.
Yeah, exactly. Right. How long have I been out? So we're buttoning that up. They're great guys, and then I get into new Everclear record after that.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, I did the last one. Art's a great guy. It's also, you see this resurgence of these 90s bands. Mm-hmm. Everclear's doing great. I did the last Helmet record. They're doing great. Music just is a cyclical thing. You can see that the 90s bands are having good times. Those that are still alive, right? Because most of those guys are dead, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and then
crazy.
These younger bands that are coming up that are inspired by that time.
Yep.
And it's cool to be able to. I'm like right in the middle of that age. I was 12 when Pearl Jam 10 came out. I was like target demographic for the original grunge movement. I got to experience it the first time around as a fan. And now I get to kind of mentor these younger bands, and I get to work with the older bands that are still alive. And that's a cool place for me to be in.
Well, this has been amazing.
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Always great to see you. And I hope you guys come back soon.
We will do.
Awesome.
Thanks, everyone. Leave any comments or questions down below. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, au revoir, adios, ciao, goodbye.